Hydra Roach style with +1/+1 and a third base. Absolutely no reason why you cannot have your chunk plug into Artosis's. Um, and likewise, this late game idea that Artosis is doing, very simple idea. Ultralisks are very good against armored units. And what are we seeing Yang get? Oh my god, he's getting Colossus. Stalker. Oh my god, those are armored units. Oh my goodness. Unbelievable. So, it's going to end up working out quite well for Artosis this late game. But, it's kind of funny. If you popped into this right now, like, let's say, you got a buddy who plays Starcraft 2 and you're just walking in on him, checking out some replays, and he's all embarrassed. So you note that, wow, Artosis has 64 drones, he has more roaches than hydras, few zerglings, he has his third base up. You'd look at Protoss, he has about two-thirds as many probes as the Protoss, two-thirds as many probes as the Zerg, two-thirds as many workers as the Zerg, is getting a bunch of Colossi. This looks like the most ordinary-looking mid-game in the world. And that's because Artosis is very, very, very good at just sort of calmly stepping back into his usual game plan, which I think is one of the more difficult things to train yourself to do. To get thrown off really hard, and then to ask yourself, okay, now, what was my plan before I had to build all these spine crawlers here, and all these spine crawlers here, and before I lost my queen here, and before he invaded up here? What was my plan before any attack happened? And that's why I always talk about having a game plan going into your game. You don't have to have something hugely deep and complex and weird, just something simple, like I'm getting Hydra Roach with +1/+1, and I'm getting Ultras after that. Very, very easy to just say like that. So coming back to the main, Artosis just finished +1/+1. He's now getting the +2 carapace and +1 attack for the Ultralisks. If you're going to make the unit, upgrade it, kind of goes without saying. Part of me feels like maybe Artosis should have skipped that +1 attack upgrade for the range and instead gotten the +1 melee upgrade, so that way he could be going for 2/2. Don't know how strongly I feel about that. That would be one of those long-term refinement plays that you would fiddle around with. But either way, here comes a big death army from Yang. This is the scary time attack from Yang. It's going to be this just huge giganto push. All these units are trying to redistribute. I love how Artosis has Zerglings control group 1, Roaches is 2, Hydras is 3. Just spreading them out a little bit. Trying to, get a flank with the Zerglings. It gets cut off. Look at these Colossi just completely demolishing everything. At this stage of the game, I actually saw this replay, because, I was browsing for stuff for the daily today, and I was just like, yeah, Artosis is probably doomed at this point. Look, it's 5 Colossi and all those Stalkers, but look, 3 Ultralisks. So used to seeing them die fast, but +2 just finished, +1 right around the corner. Artosis is still pulling back, trying to get that up there. But, I'm just going to hold the health on these Stalkers. Look at how fast these Stalkers are falling. They are dying so quickly. And Artosis barely springs forward with enough Roaches and Hydras to be able to take out these Colossi. But those Ultralisks did so much damage to the Stalkers. And then look, the Ultras so fast. Look at it, taking out one of these. Look how fast Colossi fall to Ultras. Jesus. And here goes down more of the Stalkers. God, just 43 damage versus armored. That's absurd. So yeah, nice little late game play. Artosis, whose money has climbed really high, just getting more hatches so that way he can, spit out some more Zerglings. Does he have the Adrenal upgrade? Yeah, it looks like he has Adrenal at the spawning pool. More Roaches, more Ultras. And what does Artosis do after that very scary push? He's just going to pull back and sit like normal. That was just part of his game plan. You come to me style play. No big deal. No reason to, to stress, no reason to panic. And sometimes you'll end up in weird situations like this where in a normal game, if there was no attacking at all early and Zerg got to do what he wanted, Zerg would have had this expansion up at the typical time, would have had this gold expansion up much, much, much earlier. And as a result, Zerg would have had this army And this main wouldn't have quite been mined out yet. And this main wouldn't have quite been, or excuse me, this natural wouldn't have quite been mined out yet. Artosis was put a little bit behind by all that early aggression. But still, there's no panic going on. There's no freaking out and, building extra expansions up here when it's not time to. Artosis calmly building this hatchery down here. Because if Artosis is low on money in his main and at his natural expansion, he knows that his opponent must be low on money in his main. Not quite as low at his natural, because his Protoss was doing a little bit of the aggression early on in the non-expo age. But either way, nice calm play from Artosis. And this is a very interesting endgame composition. Notice how Hydralisks didn't really play the biggest role in this game. It looks like they just helped a little bit for some of those gateway pushes. A lot of Stalker, Zealot, Sentry stuff, easy to hold off with Hydras. But none really in the late game. It's just Roaches, Zerglings, and Ultralisks. And look at Artosis just annihilate this. That is so cool to note that he used Hydralisk as a little stepping stone. Just something to help him get up. And there is Yong giving out the good game. And I love that game. I love the fact that Artosis had this weird pressure that he was under. Had this, 4 Warp Gate push after he stole his opponent's gas on a map where you have 2 entrances to your base. It's kind of insane the amount of things that were working against Artosis in that game. Well, I guess it was just the 2 entrances that were really working against him. But that's a situation where there's kind of it feels like there's a lot of intimidating stuff going on. There's 4 Warp Gates of units going on at the back of your base. You only have the ability to make Zerglings. That's it. Only Zerglings and Spine Crawlers. Your Queen's fallen. You're low on drones. You're really low on gas. You haven't really teched yet. No problem. Just total steely nerd. Calm. Don't know why I lost that word. But just complete, total, just nice composure by Artosis there. And I think that's so important with a lot of builds, to just have, have confidence in it. Because it's so easy to get in the mode of repetition that you don't quite acknowledge all the crazy possibilities that can happen. For example, I had a friend who was trying to work on his Terran vs. Zerg, especially. So he was sending me a lot of Terran vs. Zerg replays, and we were discussing some strategies, and he developed the canonical Terran vs. Zerg push. Early expand, 5 barracks, 1 factory, 1 starport. Just the big push. Push right when you get the vessel. Most normal thing in the world. And it was insane to watch him play. It was amazing to watch him play because he would play so well. I mean, he climbed from like C- to B- in like 3 or 4 weeks because he just smoothed this build out so well, just crushing players left and right. And then once he started to get up to like B and even B+ range, a weird thing happened where a lot of the B+ players were people who had hit A- or even A in their careers on Icy Cup. In other words, they were really, really, really good Zerg players who knew how to poke and prod and pick away at any sort of early expanding Terran. So what happened? There would be games where the Zerg wouldn't do any of this poking and prodding and picking away. And my friend would play a brilliant game. He would play an A+ level Terran push and an A+ Terran level late game. But the weirdest thing happened. Whenever a Zerg player managed to get in there and maybe made a bunch of Zerglings early on and some Mutalisks, my friend just fell apart. He just started making weird, funky decisions, like getting mines early on, like when he had like 1.5 bases when his natural had been really pounded apart. And he just got all inside his own head, and it freaked him out that he had been attacked and that he didn't get the chance to do his normal awesome build that he had trained himself to do oh so well. But we got the chance to sit down and say, okay, look, you're pretty much going for 5 barracks, 1 factory, 1 starport. If you have to lift your command center at your natural because you're getting attacked, no problem. When you land it, stay defended, stay calm, remember your upgrades, and then just get 5 barracks, 1 starport, 1 factory, and push, and play that out pretty normally. And obviously there's some subtlety there and all this stuff, but still, by identifying these, just this core to his gameplay, he suddenly had far fewer problems, and he stayed pretty much B plus A minus. I was like, yeah, you're totally awesome. So that is absolutely essential to do. So we are going to take a look at another cool game by Artosis, and we're going to see a completely wacky, awesome opening by Protoss. In fact, it's so awesome, I want to steal it. We're going to talk about it a lot here. But we're going to see something insane happen from the opponent, and Artosis, with his calm nerd composure, with his steely Artosis resolve, he plays a good follow-through and a normal continuation. So we like Artosis quite a bit.